The untold secret behind the invention of the chocolate chip cookie. What if I told you that the chocolate chip cookie, one of the most iconic desserts in the world, wasn't created by some world-renowned pastry chef, but by a housewife in a small Massachusetts town? And that the invention of this beloved treat wasn't the result of a carefully crafted recipe, but a happy accident that almost never happened? Stick with me, because what you're about to hear is the untold story of how Ruth Wakefield created the cookie that changed everything, and how a simple mistake became one of the sweetest secrets in food history. It was 1938, and Ruth Wakefield was standing in her kitchen at the Toll House Inn, a cozy little bed and breakfast in Whitman, Massachusetts. Known for her culinary expertise, Ruth had been serving guests for years, creating mouth-watering meals and desserts. But on this fateful evening, she was facing a problem. She had planned to make her famous chocolate cookies, but when she reached for the baker's chocolate, the essential ingredient for her rich, gooey cookies, she realized the unthinkable. She was out. But Ruth didn't panic. Instead, she got creative. In her pantry, she found a block of semi-sweet chocolate from a local supplier, Nestlé. She had no idea that this simple substitution would trigger one of the biggest culinary revolutions in history. Ruth, ever the experimenter, decided to chop up the chocolate into small pieces and stir them into her usual cookie dough. She didn't expect anything extraordinary, just a new twist on an old favorite. But something magical happened when she slid the dough into the oven. The chocolate didn't melt into the batter as she had anticipated. Instead, it stayed in little chunks, creating pockets of gooey sweetness in every bite. Ruth peered through the oven window, holding her breath. Would this experiment be a disaster? Or could she have just stumbled upon something new and exciting? As the cookies baked, the rich scent of chocolate filled the kitchen, and Ruth's heart raced. Would the guests at her inn love them? Or would this turn out to be just another failure, swept away with the rest of her cooking experiments? The oven timer buzzed. Ruth opened the door, and to her amazement, the cookies had come out perfect. Golden brown, crisp on the edges, and bursting with melted chocolate. But the real test lay ahead. Would anyone else recognize just how special these cookies were? Ruth's excitement built as she carefully placed the cookies on a plate and brought them into the dining room. The moment she set them down, the room fell silent. All eyes were on her. She offered the first cookie to her husband, Kenneth, wondering if he'd notice anything different. He took a bite, and his expression immediately changed. He couldn't stop eating them. "Ruth," he said, almost in disbelief, "these are incredible. What did you do?" Ruth smiled, her heart pounding. "I think I've just invented something new. But here's the twist you didn't see coming. Ruth didn't set out to create a world-famous dessert. In fact, she almost didn't share the recipe at all. You see, after the success of that night, Ruth kept the recipe close to her chest. She was hesitant at first to share it with the world. But eventually the word spread, and soon her cookies were in demand. Local papers featured the recipe, and it wasn't long before Nestlé took notice. In an incredible turn of events, they partnered with Ruth to print the recipe on their chocolate packages. But that wasn't the end of the story. Nestlé, in exchange for the recipe, offered Ruth a deal. They would create chocolate chips specifically for baking, the very ones we use today in every chocolate chip cookie. But here's the part of the story that most people don't know. Ruth Wakefield didn't make a fortune from her iconic invention. She sold the rights to her recipe to Nestlé for a lump sum payment. A decision that, in hindsight, would have seemed like a missed opportunity, especially as the chocolate chip cookie became a global phenomenon. Despite the success of her invention, Ruth never received royalties or ongoing profits from the cookie she created. And yet, Ruth's legacy remains. Her accidental invention brought joy to millions and reshaped the world of baking. It all started with a moment of creativity, a block of chocolate, and a simple decision to try something new. Ruth Wakefield's chocolate chip cookie wasn't just a dessert, it was the product of an ordinary woman's extraordinary ingenuity. So next time you bite into a warm, gooey chocolate chip cookie, remember it's not just a sweet treat, it's a part of history. And the woman behind it? Ruth Wakefield, who in a single moment changed the way we look at dessert forever. As we savor the sweet success of Ruth Wakefield's chocolate chip cookie, it's fascinating to see how a simple kitchen mishap can lead to a culinary revolution. But Ruth wasn't the only woman whose ingenuity transformed the way we eat. Let's journey back a few centuries to another tale of culinary creativity, where a noblewoman's quick thinking during a high-stakes card game led to the creation of a meal that would forever change the landscape of dining. Just as Ruth Wakefield's accidental discovery brought joy to millions, another woman's innovative spirit was quietly reshaping the world of food. In the opulent halls of 18th century England, Lady Sandwich was about to make her mark with a creation that would become a staple in lunchboxes and picnics around the globe. From the cozy kitchens of Massachusetts to the grand estates of Britain, these stories of culinary invention remind us that sometimes the most enduring legacies are born from the simplest of ideas. Now, let's uncover the secret history behind the sandwich and the remarkable woman who made it famous. The untold story behind the sandwich Lady Sandwich's secret revolution. What if I told you that the sandwich, the humble meal we eat every day, wasn't invented by the famous Earl of Sandwich, but by his wife? That's right, behind the iconic dish that has shaped lunchrooms, picnics, and dinner tables around the world lies a secret history that no one ever talks about. You've heard of the Earl of Sandwich, but today, I'm going to reveal the untold story of the woman who truly made the sandwich famous, and how she changed food history forever. Picture this. It's the late 1700s, a time of opulence, power, and secretive dealings among Britain's elite. The wealthy and powerful dine in lavish estates, surrounded by decadent meals that require multiple courses and endless etiquette. But then, amidst the pomp and circumstance of one grand evening, a quiet revolution begins in the kitchens of the Montague estate. Not from the Earl himself, but from his wife, Lady Sandwich. She didn't just serve tea and attend high society events. She saw a problem, and more importantly, she had a solution that would change the world. The game-changing moment. It all started one night in the Montague estate, as John Montague, the fourth Earl of Sandwich, sat hunched over a card table, his eyes fixed on his hand. The sounds of coins clinking and the shuffle of cards echoed through the room. Hours passed. But there was one problem. Montague had no time to eat. He couldn't leave the game, but his hunger gnawed at him. He needed food, but it couldn't interrupt his game. And that's when something extraordinary happened. But here's the part of the story you probably don't know. Lady Sandwich wasn't just a passive observer. She knew the exact moment to step in. Behind the scenes, Lady Sandwich saw her husband's struggle. She knew something had to change. She wasn't about to serve her husband a messy plate of food that would require a fork and knife. No, she would make a meal that could be eaten with one hand. Something efficient, something clever, something that would change history forever. The secret creation. One evening, as Lady Sandwich moved through her estate's bustling kitchen, a simple idea began to take form. She had always been a woman who prided herself on practicality, but also creativity. Why not combine the elements of a proper meal, bread, meat, and perhaps a touch of something else, into something compact, easy to eat, and mess-free? She knew the noblemen gathered in her estate needed a food that could be devoured quickly, without disrupting the evening's activities. With a swift motion, she took slices of cold roast beef and tucked them between two pieces of soft, thick bread. The combination was simple but ingenious. Would it work? She didn't know yet, but she knew this was her moment to change the game. The first tasting, a quiet revolution. Lady Sandwich made her move. The next evening, the men gathered for cards. As they focused on their hands, Lady Sandwich discreetly served her creation slices of meat wrapped in soft bread. A portable meal, simple yet innovative. The men eyed it suspiciously at first. Could this really be proper fare for men of their status? But then they took a bite, and suddenly, everything changed. The sandwich was a game changer. No utensils were needed. No crumbs were scattered on the fine tablecloths. The men could continue to play, focused, while eating a quick, satisfying meal without missing a beat. Lady Sandwich knew she had just created something extraordinary. But would the rest of the world see it the same way? The secret spreads from nobles to the world. What happened next is where history takes a fascinating turn. Word of this sandwich spread like wildfire. As the men who tasted Lady Sandwich's creation returned to their circles, they couldn't stop talking about it. Soon, the sandwich was being requested at other noble gatherings. The simple meal gained popularity, first in the elite circles, then among the masses. But here's the twist you weren't expecting. The Earl of Sandwich, famous for his love of gambling, was never the one to claim credit for this revolutionary idea. In fact, he wasn't even the first person to call it a sandwich. Lady Sandwich's creation had quickly taken off, and it was known as the sandwich in society, not because of his invention, but because of his wife's ingenuity. But here's the part you really haven't heard before. John Montagu never patented or publicized the sandwich. Lady Sandwich was never given credit for the innovation that would define meals for centuries to come. She had crafted something brilliant, but the world never saw her as the true inventor. The Earl's title overshadowed everything, and history remembered him, while Lady Sandwich's contribution remained in the shadows. The truth finally revealed. For years, historians credited John Montagu, the fourth Earl of Sandwich, as the creator of the sandwich. But the truth is much more nuanced. Lady Sandwich was the hidden force behind the invention of the sandwich, the woman who made it possible, who observed the need for a convenient meal and found a way to solve it. So next time you bite into a sandwich, whether it's a simple ham and cheese or an elaborate club sandwich, remember this. It was Lady Sandwich who had the vision, the ingenuity, and the quiet brilliance to make it happen. And now you know the secret. As we leave the elegant dining rooms of 18th century England, where Lady Sandwich's ingenuity gave rise to a timeless culinary staple, we journey forward to the turn of the 20th century. Here, another pioneering woman was poised to revolutionize the way we cook, not with a new dish, but with an innovative product that would transform kitchens across America. Just as Lady Sandwich's creation provided a practical solution to a pressing need, Maria Parloa's visionary thinking addressed the challenges faced by home cooks everywhere. In a world dominated by traditional cooking fats, Maria saw an opportunity to create something cleaner, more versatile, and ultimately groundbreaking. From the noble estates of Britain to the bustling kitchens of America, these stories of culinary innovation highlight the remarkable impact of women who dared to think differently. Now let's delve into the story of Maria Parloa and discover how her contributions helped shape the modern culinary landscape. The secret behind Crisco, Maria Parloa's revolutionary discovery. What if I told you that one of the most iconic kitchen products in the world, Crisco, was invented not by a team of scientists, but by a single woman, and not just any woman. Maria Parloa, a culinary genius who saw a gap in the market, recognized an opportunity and changed the way we cook forever. But here's the catch. Maria Parloa's role in the invention of Crisco is a story that's largely been erased from history. You've probably heard of Crisco, the cooking fat that revolutionized kitchens across America. But did you know it was Maria's innovative thinking that laid the groundwork for the product we know today? Stick around, because I'm about to reveal how Maria Parloa's hidden genius changed the world of cooking in ways you've never imagined. The spark of an idea. In the late 19th century, cooking was a world dominated by butter, lard, and oils. The methods of baking and frying hadn't changed much in centuries. People were still relying on animal fats, and though they worked, they often had drawbacks. The strong odors, the heavy texture, the inconsistent results. The desire for something cleaner, easier, and more versatile was growing. Enter Maria Parloa, a culinary teacher and food expert with a mind that saw possibilities everywhere. Maria was a woman ahead of her time. She had spent years studying and teaching cooking techniques, and by the 1880s, she had become an authority in the food world. She had already authored a cookbook that became wildly popular, and her reputation as a culinary innovator was growing. But Maria wasn't satisfied with just teaching the same old recipes. No, she had a vision, a new way of cooking. At the time, Maria had already established herself as a leading figure in culinary education, and she was well aware of the challenges people faced when cooking with traditional fats. She often heard complaints from women about how difficult and messy it was to cook with animal fats. The search for an alternative was on, but who would create it? The challenge of cooking fats. Maria began to dig deeper into this issue. She knew the secret to making food lighter, crispier, and more consistent was in the fat itself. What if she could develop a product that could mimic the properties of animal fats without the drawbacks? What if there was a cleaner, more reliable way to cook? Something that would change the landscape of home kitchens forever. But it wasn't enough just to dream about it. Maria needed a solution. She needed the right combination of ingredients and techniques. Maria was no stranger to pushing boundaries in the kitchen, but she also knew that finding the right formula required not only her culinary expertise but also innovation and a bit of trial and error. She was driven by one thing: to make cooking easier for the women of America, to give them a tool that would transform their daily lives. What she didn't know was that her idea would spark a revolution, the meeting that would change everything. As Maria pondered this idea, fate intervened in a way she hadn't expected. In 1905, Maria crossed paths with a man named William H. Haskell, a businessman who was working with Procter & Gamble, a company that had long been known for its innovative approach to consumer products. William had heard of Maria's ideas and approached her with a proposition. What if they teamed up to create a new cooking fat, a product that was cleaner, more versatile, and more consistent than anything on the market? This moment would set the stage for one of the most groundbreaking inventions in food history, Crisco. But here's the twist. Maria didn't just lend her name to the product, she was instrumental in developing its formula. She worked alongside Procter & Gamble to refine what would eventually become the first vegetable shortening on the market, using hydrogenation to transform liquid vegetable oils into a solid form that could rival animal fats in baking and frying. But what Maria didn't know was that this product would forever alter not only the way America cooked, but the entire landscape of food manufacturing. Crisco was about to take the country by storm. In 1911, Crisco hit the shelves, and it was an instant success. The product was clean, odorless, and incredibly versatile. Bakers marveled at its ability to create lighter, fluffier cakes, and cooks loved how it could withstand high temperatures without breaking down. Suddenly, every American kitchen had a new essential. The convenience of cooking with Crisco was unparalleled, and soon, the product became a household name. But what many people didn't realize is that Maria Parloa's fingerprints were all over this revolutionary product. She wasn't just a passive participant in the creation of Crisco, she had given it life. Her relentless pursuit of a better, cleaner way to cook had paid off. Maria Parloa's work with Procter & Gamble had resulted in a product that would change cooking forever. While Crisco went on to become one of the most iconic cooking products of the 20th century, Maria Parloa's contribution has been largely forgotten. The public didn't see her as the driving force behind this innovation. She remained a footnote in the story, overshadowed by the larger-than-life companies and men who brought Crisco to the masses. But the truth is that Maria Parloa's culinary insight and expertise were key to Crisco's success. She understood what the average cook needed, a product that was not only functional, but would make life easier. Her vision was clear. She wanted to revolutionize the kitchen for every cook in America, and she succeeded. Today, Crisco is a household staple, used in everything from pies to frying to cookies. But next time you pull out that can of Crisco, take a moment to think about the woman who helped bring it to life, Maria Parloa, a visionary who worked quietly behind the scenes to change the cooking world. Her legacy lives on, not just in the products she helped create, but in the countless kitchens where her inventions continue to make cooking more accessible, more efficient, and more enjoyable. Maria Parloa's story is one of innovation, perseverance, and quiet brilliance. A woman whose work continues to impact our kitchens, even though her name has faded into the background. So the next time you bake, fry, or cook with Crisco, remember that it was Maria Parloa who made it all possible. Crisco's impact on American cooking has endured for over a century. From its inception to today, Crisco has been a constant in American culinary evolution. Though often overlooked, Maria Parloa's influence extends far beyond the creation of Crisco. Her vision for accessible, efficient cooking continues to shape our culinary experiences. Maria Parloa's legacy, making cooking easier for generations of Americans. Having explored Maria Parloa's transformative impact on American kitchens with her role in the creation of Crisco, we turn our attention to another culinary pioneer whose legacy is as sweet as the dessert she crafted. While Maria's innovation lay in revolutionizing cooking methods, Deborah McMurray's genius was in perfecting a dish that would become a beloved staple of Southern hospitality. Just as Maria Parloa's vision brought a new level of convenience and efficiency to cooking, Deborah McMurray's creativity turned simple, seasonal ingredients into a timeless treat that continues to grace tables across the country. From the inventive minds that reshaped cooking practices to those who elevated humble ingredients into culinary icons, these stories celebrate the enduring influence of women in the kitchen. Imagine sitting around a warm kitchen, the smell of freshly baked fruit filling the air, and just as you take your first bite of that golden, crispy topping with the tender, sweet peaches underneath, you wonder, who created this delicious masterpiece? We all know about classic American desserts like apple pie, but there's one dessert that has taken over family gatherings, holiday feasts, and summer cookouts: peach cobbler. What if I told you that the story behind its creation is more secretive than you think? What if the woman responsible for this iconic dish has been largely forgotten by history? In the small town of Charleston, South Carolina, in the early 1800s, there was a woman named Deborah McMurray who was about to change the world of Southern cooking forever. Deborah was known for her exceptional culinary skills, but not in the way that we think of celebrity chefs today. She wasn't from a family of famous chefs. Her background was humble. Deborah was a woman who had grown up on a farm, surrounded by fruits and vegetables that were in season throughout the year. One day, when the summer peaches were ripe for picking, Deborah was faced with an unusual challenge. She had just harvested a basket of plump, juicy peaches from her family's orchard. With a few basic ingredients in hand, flour, sugar, butter, and of course those ripe peaches, Deborah began to experiment. The first batch was too dry. The second was too soggy. The third time, the peaches didn't cook properly. Deborah was on the verge of giving up, but something inside her pushed her forward. She knew she was close. Finally, after much trial and error, Deborah crafted the perfect balance. The peaches were tender and sweet, the topping golden and slightly crisp, and when it all came together in the oven, something magical happened. Peach cobbler was born. Word about Deborah's peach cobbler spread quickly. Soon, Deborah was baking peach cobblers for family gatherings, church events, and community feasts. But while the cobbler was gaining popularity, Deborah remained in the background. As the decades passed, the dessert evolved and became a symbol of Southern hospitality, comfort, and flavor. Today, peach cobbler is a dessert that millions of people adore. So next time you sit down with a warm bowl of peach cobbler, remember, it wasn't just a dessert, it was Deborah McMurray's secret to making something extraordinary out of the simplest ingredients. Hey everyone, I hope you're having an awesome day and enjoying the video. Do you love a peanut butter and jelly sandwich? Hit that like button. If you're new here, I'm super excited to have you join us. Are chocolate chip cookies your secret pleasure too? Hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on all the exciting content we've got coming your way. I love reading your thoughts, so drop a comment below. Whether it's feedback, your favorite sandwich, or just saying hi. So if you're enjoying the vibe, make sure you're part of the blueprint by hitting that bell to get notified every time we post new videos. Thanks so much for your support. It means the world to me, and I can't wait to bring you even more awesome content. Are you ready to check out the next forgotten female inventor? Imagine stepping into a bustling 18th century English kitchen, where the air is filled with the aroma of freshly baked goods, simmering sauces, and the rich scent of cheese melting over pasta. In this lively scene, one woman stands out, not just as a skilled cook, but as a trailblazer who forever changed the way we think about food. Her name? Elizabeth Raffald. Though her legacy might not be as well known today as other culinary figures, Raffald's influence on British cuisine and her role in shaping modern cooking practices is nothing short of revolutionary. Raffald's The Experienced English Housekeeper, published in 1769, was a game-changer.
Nice!
Her book was groundbreaking not only for its detailed instructions, but for its approachability, bridging the gap between the upper and middle classes in England. At a time when Italy's culinary influence was beginning to sweep across Europe, Elizabeth Raffald seized upon one of Italy's most famous imports, macaroni. Her recipe, which combined macaroni with a creamy cheese sauce, was innovative for its time. It took inspiration from the macaroni-based dishes of Italy and melded them with traditional British ingredients, creating a hybrid dish that would go on to become a beloved classic. Think about it. Without Raffald's early embrace of macaroni, who knows if this cheesy comfort food would have found its place on our dinner tables centuries later? While Raffald's culinary innovations were noteworthy, her savvy business sense was equally remarkable. Operating a successful catering business and running a shop that sold prepared foods like cakes and sauces, Raffald was not just an author but an entrepreneur at the forefront of the burgeoning commercial food industry. In an era when women's roles in business were often limited, Raffald proved that a woman could master the culinary world and profit from it. Elizabeth Raffald's The Experienced English Housekeeper didn't just change the way people cooked, it altered the way people viewed food. By offering practical cooking tips and recipes for every class, she made high-quality food more accessible to the masses, setting a precedent for how cookbooks could serve both as culinary guides and as tools for social change. Her recipes weren't just about preparing meals, they were about creating experiences, about blending flavors from around the world in new and exciting ways. Even today, Elizabeth Raffald's influence can be seen in the cookbooks and food culture we enjoy. From the macaroni and cheese we savor in modern kitchens to the entrepreneurial spirit that drives today's food industry, Raffald's legacy lives on. Her integration of Italian and French techniques into British cooking laid the groundwork for the global cuisine we now take for granted. These stories of culinary innovation remind us that behind every iconic dish or product, there is often an untold story of creativity, perseverance, and ingenuity. Their contributions have shaped the way we enjoy food today, turning simple ingredients into timeless classics that continue to bring joy to millions. If you enjoyed these stories, please like and subscribe for more fascinating tales about women making history.